Hey, how are you four people, wonderful people doing again? I love ancient history and just the wonder of things, and I would like to know some answers. Places like Puma Punko, the pyramids, things like that, I'm just fascinated with. And I think that maybe what we don't think about enough with some of these structures is how some of these things just get petrified. So many things after thousands or millions of years turn petrified and turn into stone. Petrified wood, turned into stone. I think a lot of these things we see from the past just may have been made from wood, but over this millions of years or thousands of years, it turned into stone. And so we look at it and think, how did they carve these huge things from stone when they may have just been, wood to begin with? I think that someday, there are some of those things that are obviously made from stone, but we can't wrap our heads around. They had technology to do that because we're on this thought process of we're the first ones to be here to come this far, and that's it. Period. No, I believe that there's been a couple prior civilizations before us, and who could prove that untrue? Nobody can. It's a great possibility, and I really believe it's true. Some of the oldest some places like the Indians or the Hindus, they have a history that's been uninterrupted and unaffected by war. And they say clearly that there's been prior civilizations. You know what? Someday after our civilization, the next ones that come along may look at something like Mount Rushmore and be completely amazed and think, how could those, you know, almost like cavemen have done something like this? When you stop looking at it as we're the first civilization to come this far and realize that there's a much better possibility that there's been prior civilizations to us, it makes a lot of those things much easier to comprehend. Maybe not understand how it was made, but comprehend. Like you look at things in Puma Punka and places like that. They always show these edges that are so perfectly square and everything is so smooth. How did they carve that out? Maybe it wasn't carved out. Maybe there was something, maybe there was an inlay in there that over time just didn't get petrified like the stone or wood around it and just decayed and turned into nothing. So it looks like it was carved out from the inside. I'm not saying that's true, I'm just saying that's a possibility. But the main takeaway from this should be we are not the first civilization to come this far. There is no way that we are. And I believe that history repeats itself because if you look at some of these ancient things they find, so-called made of stone, a lot of these things when you look into them, there's actually proof that there was like rebar in some of these things that were made, and how they were mounted and put together, you know, by looking back on the time period when they were built, where our civilization should have been. No, we absolutely couldn't possibly have made it. But that wasn't from our civilization. And another thing, I think our whole timeline that we're given is wrong. I don't think that, they say we've been, thousands of years or 2,000 years, whatever. I believe that's wrong. I don't think it's been that long as they say. I really don't. And I believe there was a prior civilization before us that was, as far as our time period goes to what we're taught, would fall into that category. I don't think that the time that we say we came from caveman or whatever the Cro-Magnon man to now is correct. I think they're wrong or telling the untruth. And I think it is a much shorter period of time. But know this, someday there's going to be a civilization that's going to look at things like Mount Rushmore and think of, how could these knuckle draggers have done that? It'll happen. Wait and see. Do your homework. Look into history. It's important. Ask questions. When you're in school, always ask questions. I used to get in trouble for get a note written on my report card. Gary asked too many questions at school, interrupting class. How else are you supposed to learn unless you ask questions? So you kids in school, always ask questions. Don't be ridiculous about it, but ask questions. Don't just take an answer for face value. Make them explain to you why it's that answer so you can comprehend it and understand it. And you'll take that process and be able to comprehend and understand other things a little better, I think. Anyways, look into the stuff in history. It's very, very fascinating. Do your homework. Have a good day. Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year.